Welcome to Hockey Night in New York, where Islanders hockey always reigns supreme. Whether you were raised at the barn in Uniondale or born in the stable at Belmont, Hockey Night in New York is your home for all things Isles. Now, let's drop the puck and get this party started.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Hockey Night in New York. Welcome to the program, everyone. It is Sunday, April 6, 2025. Coming at you live from Florida Media in Rockville Center. An absolutely monumental program coming up for you tonight. That's right, Sammy Silber of the Hockey News will be joining us to talk Alex Ovechkin. Some big news there. The Caps, Isles, a wonderful program coming up. Thanks for tuning in here at Hockey Night in New York. My name is Sean Cuthbert. With me, as always, is Mr. Stefen Rosner. Stefen, how do you do?
Incredible day at UBS Arena. Matt Martin, primary assist.
Yeah.
Huge night for Gatcomb.
Yes.
Something else did happen.
Something great.
I can't remember.
Yeah, something. Yeah, there were some big names in the building.
Someone scored during the intermission.
Wayne Gretzky was there.
Oh, Wayne Gretzky
came to watch Gatcomb's 2 goals.
Yeah.
Gary Bettman. Huge.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, and then Ovechkin scored
895. Yes. Bravo. Pretty
on
impressive.
On the power play. Not a one-timer, though.
Right, yeah, he took his time.
Catch and release.
Catch and release.
But he did go high blocker side, and that's his...
Past Ilya Sorokin.
Yes, he is the guy that has to watch this now
in history.
Forever.
He seems pretty okay with it.
Yeah, let's see what happens in like a week when he has to see it 20,000 times.
All right. Well, once again, thanks for tuning in. Before we get started, I want to thank our wonderful sponsors, starting with Main Street Board Game Cafe. Find your crowd and unplug your game at 307 Main Street in Huntington Village. Also, a big thanks to Center Station Bar and Grill. Catch every Isles game with great food and drinks at 279A Sunrise Highway in Rockville Center all season long. Also proud to be sponsored by Razor and Kniff Attorneys at Law, ready to fight for you. Check them out at razorandkniff.com. That is RAISERANDKENNIFF.com for a free consultation. And last but certainly not least, proud to be sponsored by Tovi Hockey, the innovative hockey technology company and creators of the Diamond Air Blade. Get 10% off at tovihockey.com with promo code HNINY10. And if you're hanging out with us live in the chat, you want to get your questions in later, type in questions brewing, and we will answer those questions later on. So let's move on to Experience Points, presented by Main Street Board Game Cafe, where we make our points about the Islanders' experience in the previous week. So the Islanders did have an interesting experience leading up to the week, a 6-game losing streak. They finally put that to bed. And now they're riding a nice little 2-game winning streak against 2 good teams in the Wild and the Capitals.
They've played some pretty good hockey. The Tampa game obviously was not how anyone wanted it to go outside of Tampa. Didn't play well at all, but then Minnesota is a very good team. They were struggling a bit to find consistency.
Yes.
The go to Zuccarello off Sorokin's mask in from behind the net.
Yeah.
Such an Islanders goal.
Sorokin's had a good number of those now. You know, the corner shot going off his face. Yeah.
Not ideal, but the Islanders answer with 3 straight goals.
They do.
In that game.
Yes.
And then you look at the game against the Capitals, and you know, it's a very emotional game. The Islanders get on the board first. They get 2.
Yeah.
Horvat, 1-timer from the slot. Nice pass by Holmstrom. Then Gatcomb off the rush. They're up 2-0. You're thinking, okay. Then Ovechkin scores the goal. They have a 45-minute ceremony.
It was long. And they went all out.
And to credit the Islanders, you thought maybe that time would slow them down, give the Caps momentum. And Carberry, after the game, was frustrated with how they didn't answer. He thought that the Ovechkin goal would get them going. Didn't.
Well, maybe the stop did kind of prevent the Caps' momentum. You know, they're feeling good after the goal. They had that big high, and then they have to pause for all the pomp and circumstance, which, you know, they did a great job. The league, the Islanders, everybody at UBS did a great job. The Isles were classy about it, and I know you got some good quotes after the game. Gretzky came out. He gave a great quote. He actually had a funny thing to talk about the Coliseum. He's like, I'm glad we're not there because he lost so many games there. So I thought it was awesome. I was fortunate enough to be in the building like you, and it was just amazing to witness hockey history like that, because you just don't know when something like this is going to happen again. I mean, Gretzky scored his last goal in 99, I think.
It was 31 years ago. He held the record.
So it's been a minute.
Yeah.
It's been a minute. So pretty amazing. And the Islanders still get the win. So as long as you don't mind Ovechkin scoring the goal against your team, a small little win-win for the Islander fans, right?
And that was the thing. I know it wasn't quick because of the break, but Gatcomb gets another goal. And the Islanders go up through, and you're thinking, wow, like these are the Islanders maybe quote unquote out of it, but we know right now if Montreal loses their game now, it's 5 points. It's not impossible, it's not likely, but it's kind of crazy how like They could, it's not over
stupid.
yet. It's stupid.
It's stupid, but it's true. If Montreal manages to F things up against the Predators tonight, yeah, 5 points is still a lot. You're running out of time. You're running out of runway space, right? But Montreal can essentially just put the nail in the Islanders' coffin tonight. All they have to do is win. If they don't, they still could go on a run here because they got the Caps and the Wild out of the way. They have to play the Caps one more time, but the remainder of the Islanders' schedule isn't exactly, a huge hurdle, especially with, I know the Islanders dropped the last two against the Rangers, but the Rangers are playing like they're ready for the season to end.
They don't want to. They're ready for golf. It seems like their heart's not in it at all. But let's get back to the game for 1 second. So the speech was great, and Wayne Gretzky was awesome. And then after the game, we're waiting to go into the Islanders' room, and Wayne Gretzky and Gary Bettman go into the Islanders' room first. And we asked Patrick Waugh about exactly what was said in the locker room. We have this audio clip for you.
And it's very classy, for them to come over, Mr. Bettman and him, and come and see us and acknowledge how classy our players were. Remember when Paul Maurice said, appreciate the fact that we stayed on the bench, for the 1,000 game of their defenseman, forgot his name, sorry. But it's important moment in our game, and I think it's important to be classy in this moment and support each other, even if we're not playing on the same team. I think it's important. So that night with Kulikov, when he played his 1,000 game, us staying on the ice, it was great from us. And tonight it was the same thing. And it was the same thing when he scored when he scored against Chicago. The guys from Chicago stayed there. So, we all love to compete, but there's also a side of the game that you need to be there for each other.
And I thought it was awesome, too. They all shook Ovechkin's hand.
Yeah, it was great.
Ovechkin and Sorokin have a moment.
Yep.
We'll get to Sorokin in a little bit later, but Sorokin ends up giving... Ovechkin goes over to Sorokin before the puck drops again after the ceremony and says, I need your stick.
Right.
And Sorokin said, all right, no problem. All right. And we asked him, what is he getting back in return? And Sorokin just laughed and said, respect. So, at the end of the day, Sorokin will be on the highlight reel. Someone had to allow it. It's a fellow Russian. I'm assuming, I know Sorokin doesn't play it out, and he probably hates goal scorers all the time, but there's definitely a certain level of respect there for everyone. You saw the Islanders, you saw Patrick Waugh. It was just a cool moment for hockey because no one ever thought this record would ever be broken. Yeah. And Ovechkin, and think about what Ovechkin did too. He's played in, 61 games, and he has 42 goals, something like that.
It's unreal.
No one
at 39.
When he breaks his leg, everyone said, okay, there's no shot.
Right.
And then, pun intended, shot.
No, it's crazy, but that just goes to show you the elite players in this game kind of have that extra tank in them, right? Because how many times have we talked about like Nelson and Palmieri getting into their mid-30s, being like, look, these guys are going to regress, and then you see Alex Ovechkin, who's towards the top of the elite, and this is a guy who can still do it at 39, and I have a feeling he's going to be a guy like Jaromir Jagr, where as long as there's a team that could use his services, he's going to keep playing until they finally ask him to go away. So I could see him hitting 1,000. In 3-4 years, maybe 2-3.
What'll be funny is the Islanders play the Caps again. Could that be the game where Ovechkin scores 900?
You never know.
The tickets for that, you think that's as expensive as it was today?
Probably not.
No, people probably made back their whole season tickets for selling this.
Yeah, it was interesting. Like, of course, after he scored the 894th, they spiked to crazy prices, right? And then I looked this morning before the game, and they dipped to like more reasonable. Like you can get in the building for like I think just under $300. So it definitely like had one massive spike, and then it kind of cooled off. So you're probably kicking yourself if you're one of those people who saw it get up to 1,000, 1,500. You're like, oh, I better buy a ticket now, and then.
Well, thank God, and that's where my experience points for the fans. That's where the experience points comes, because I was praying for all the fans that did drop the money that he did score, because if not, you'd be kicking yourself. You paid to go see it. You didn't see him do it. So credit to the fans, because the place, it seemed like it was 50-50, Cap fans and Island fans, maybe a little more.
The lower bowl was red.
But the crowd was unbelievable.
Yeah, everybody was chanting.
I get it, a lot of the OV chants, but just in general, that was probably the most packed UBS has been. And it's also, I guess, experience points for UBS Arena. That's the first huge moment. I know Bortuzzo
has to be
as far as all deflections.
The most media in the building, at least for a hockey event, since the place opened.
There were so many media people everywhere up there. The press level was jam-packed.
Even around the concourse, there were folks just hanging out, like all having passes and stuff, taking pictures from behind the seats and stuff in the lower bowl. So it was peppered with press.
And I think the NHL owes the Islanders something if they're going to take away the All-Star game and had Ovechkin. They got maybe like the first overall pick or something.
Yeah, rig the draft a little bit, right? I mean, look, they saved Pittsburgh with Crosby back in 2006, right? So yeah, why not?
This is also the anniversary of the day Ovechkin was drafted.
Saw that, yeah.
And
a lot of crazy stuff.
You have the Gretzky and Ovechkin both scoring their goals against the Islanders.
Right.
And,
so in 25 years, when we have a player who's up for the next record, you play the Islanders.
Oh, a player against them.
Yeah, you play the Islanders and you'll break the record.
Yeah.
Or score your last goal. Yeah.
Shout out to Beauvillier getting to line up today as well.
Sure, he was there.
He was a healthy scratch last game. Injury to Potrisk, skate cut. Bo comes back in. Bo's one of the best guys in hockey to talk to. He's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. So experience points for me for seeing Bo again.
Yeah, and the whole thing was just great to witness, and you see how much the Caps love that dude too, right? Like they were mobbing him. Like you could see how much they supported him, right? And I caught a Tom Wilson quote after the game where he was just like, "I love that dude," So it was really cool. Just you separate yourself from being an Islander fan for a second, and just as a hockey fan, just seeing how much these guys rallied around him and supported him and wanted him to get the record. And I think he acknowledged Backstrom and Oshie, right? Yeah. They were in the building, right?
He said he saw Backstrom and Oshie were there, and he said that when he saw Backstrom, he almost cried. I mean, these guys, probably one of the best.
They were attached to the hip their entire career,
Yeah, and I think what saved Ovechkin is that Dylan Strome kind of stepped up, being that assistman, because when they lost Backstrom, it was like, who's going to set up Ovechkin? Not that he couldn't do it on his own, but he does not get this record if Dylan Strome doesn't have the couple of scenes that he had.
Probably waits at least until next year.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, it's Oshie, too. I mean, we know Oshie's been going through the back issues. It hasn't been able to play. I'm not sure if he'll ever be able to play again. But you see all the people that have been part of Ovechkin's journey. Like you said, they just love this guy.
Right.
I think Backstrom said he's the same guy he's been since he broke into the league. And it's awesome because he's done it with the same franchise, too.
And he's just so, happy-go-lucky. He just loves to go out there, play the game, score goals, and have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I saw some scenes from the locker room. They treated it like a cup victory.
Well, I saw Bud Light the other day. I saw Coors Light today, so I don't think he cares.
Probably not.
Yeah,
and they're off, and somebody mentioned it. They don't play again till Thursday, so it's going to be
the hangover,
couple of days.
Yeah, tonight's going to be a doozy.
For sure. So great stuff for Ovechkin, great stuff for hockey. It was great to see that. And to reel it back into the Isles real quick, 5 points out now. And we joked about it before, but yeah, Nashville's playing Montreal right now. Hey, Jake, we got a score update there? Montreal tied it, so the dream is dying a slow death. So yeah, the Islanders are toast if Montreal wins tonight, and maybe if the Habs lose in regulation, they got a prayer. And as far as experience points go, for me, I'm gonna give plus 422 to Noah Dobson. For playing a little more like Noah Dobson, looking good. He had that goal and assist in, the Minnesota game. Thank you very much.
No problem.
He's looking better. He's looking more like himself. And maybe that's a sign of things to come for next year.
Islanders are 2-0-0 since Martin and Mayfield come back into
the lineup.
Just undefeated there.
Good point. Yeah. We'll see how long that lasts.
They play Nashville on Tuesday.
Did you give a point designation for the fans? How many you want to give those guys?
How many people sit in UBS? Do we have
16,000 plus?
16,000 points.
16,000 points for the fans. Plus. That's your experience points, and that will do it for Experience Points, presented by Main Street Board Game Cafe. Unplug your game and raise your experience at 307 Main Street in Huntington Village on Long Island's North Shore. Games for sale and for open play. Food and drink, beer and wine, fun, and friends. Bring the magic of phones down, eyes up, tabletop board games to your family. Our staff will help you find the right game from old favorites to the hottest new releases. We have everything from strategic to easy party games. Get off your screens for a night your family will remember. Looking for meetups to join? Our Magic the Gathering, Dungeons & Dragons, Lorcana, and organized play communities are welcoming for all. We also do parties and corporate events located at 307 Main Street in Huntington Village. Go to mainstboardgamecafe.com for more information. Main Street Board Game Cafe. Find your crowd. Unplug your game. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to be talking to Sammy Silber.
Islanders fans, Sunday night is hockey night in New York. Whether you were raised at the barn in Uniondale or born in the stable at Belmont, tune in to Hockey Night in New York. Catch us live from Floored Media in Rockville Center, Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, as we cover all things Islanders at twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY. All episodes are also available on YouTube and all your favorite podcast providers. And for all you social butterflies, you can follow @HockeyNightNY on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for all the latest updates. Hockey Night in New York, the best night of the week for any Islanders fan.
Attention all artists, storytellers, and creators of all kinds. It's time to make your content stand out above the rest. And Floored Media is the place to make your visions become a reality. Maybe you want to elevate your podcast and add some video, or turn that novel you wrote into an audiobook. Or maybe you just need the right space to produce your daily vlog. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or just starting out, Floored Media has the professional facilities, exceptional staff, and intimate atmosphere to breathe life into your creative passions at every step of the process.
Did you have a nice break? Well, it's time to get back on the couch for more Islanders therapy on Hockey Night in New York.
Welcome back to the program, guys. Joining us on the line, presented by Tovi Hockey, Sammy Silber of the Hockey News, my colleague. And Sammy, obviously an amazing day for Alex Ovechkin. You have a unique opportunity the way you covered the Caps, but first being a fan, watching this guy score a ton of goals, then getting to meet him and get to know him. Just tell us what he's like away from the ice and just the kind of guy he is.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. Also, sorry, I'm like in a car. I'm like in between hockey games right now myself.
Nice.
So yeah. No.
Did you win the first one?
I did not.
Oh
okay.
Man,
could have lied to us, but we appreciate the honesty.
I could have lied. No, I mean, Ovi is just, I mean, growing up as a kid in DC, I mean, he's the reason I obviously fell in love with the game. And, you know, I went to a Caps Blues game. You know, my mom took me and I saw him on the ice and I was like, I don't know who this is or what this is about, but I love this, right? Like, this is incredible. And this is going to be my life now. So from that point on, I became a huge Caps fan. You know, I had the fat head on my wall, and then, you know, obviously you grow up and then I choose to become a hockey writer, and I get to know him and who he is. And he's an incredible, sorry, the light just turned off. He's an incredible human being. He's one of a kind, truly. I mean, the generosity, the time he takes, you know, kindness, the way he carries himself. And he's a team first guy. If you talk to him, it's never about him. It's never, you know, the spotlight's on me and, you know, I'm the greatest goal scorer of all time. Nothing like that. It's all, you know, I couldn't be here without my teammates or my family or others. He really is one of a kind. And when you're around him, you can just feel this greatness. It's hard to put into words. So today's a really special day.
Yeah, that's awesome, Sammy, and it's amazing to be able to witness something like that. Just I guess the envelope getting pushed further and further by another amazing athlete, right? Now, you look at 895. Is there one in particular that stands out for you that you just were like, man, how did he do that? Or this was just the most incredible goal I've ever seen Alex Ovechkin score?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, there's not many to choose from. No, I mean, I think I've gotten the opportunity to watch so many. I think the goal that sits with me is when he like got off the bench for his line change against Montreal. It was like, you know, prime movie. And he like, you know, backhands the puck to himself, like spins around, and he just like barrels past like, you know, Roman Hamrlik, Kyle Chipchura, like, and just slams into the crease and buries it past Carey Price from his butt. Like to even like have the brain capacity to like think like, oh, I'm on the ice now for my shift, I'm gonna do this. Like that's crazy to me. I mean, everyone that goes in is special. I mean, when you saw like, you know, 894 and I got to be there for it, once he like got set up in the circle, you're like, that's going in. Like there's no doubt. Like you just know. So that one was cool. He scored, you know, the ones he scored in the Stanley Cup final are really special because it just did so much for the city of Washington. But I mean, God, it's crazy. I still can't really believe that he did it. So yeah, a lot of goals to choose from. So
you did a great feature for the Hockey News magazine, talking to a lot of past teammates of Ovechkin. Can you just share maybe one interview you did with one of the players? What maybe was the coolest interview you did for that piece?
Yeah, I think, I mean, obviously going in and, you know, I remember the first time, like, I had talked to Ovi before, but I had like kind of like sat there and I was like, I don't think I've ever like introduce myself to him. Like, I don't think I've ever said, you know what I mean? Like, I'm Sammy. And so, like, I remember saying it to him, like, in passing, like, at the start of the year, because, like, I ran into him in the room, and he was like, oh, yeah, like, I know who you are. And I'm like, that's crazy. Like, I'm like, what? Like, okay, like, cool. No, I mean, but sitting down with him, I mean, it was awesome. He, you know, when you ask him the same questions and you see, like, you know, him coming out every 2 days on the road to talk about the record and talk about the record, like, I didn't want to do that. Like, the story's been overdone. It's been written. And I wanted to know, like, who is Alex Ovechkin, right? Like, who's Ovi the person? Like, the dad who, you know, eats flaming hot Cheetos and just likes a couple beers. Like, so I, like, sat down, you know, with him, and I was like, you know, can I sit with you? And he was like, yeah, like, of course. And, like, you know, I sat down next to him, and I was like, all right, like, we're not going to talk about the record. We're not going to talk about that. And he's like, thank you. Like, he was like, nice. So, and I'm like, dude, like, you're the greatest goal scorer of all time. You don't need to thank me. Like, let's just talk. So that one was pretty cool. And then, you know, obviously, you know, talking to, you know, Mike Knuble. I grew up, you know, watching Mike Knuble, so getting to talk to him a little bit about Ovi. And then I got to interview Jose Theodore, who, I mean, Stefen, you're a goalie, so you know, like, he's one of a kind, Jose. And he's like a pilot now. Oh, really? And yeah, and like setting up like the interview was like so strange because like I went through like all these like channels, like tracked down his agent, finally got in touch with him over email, and then like he didn't respond to my email for a couple days.
He's
and
fine.
I was like kind of bummed. I was like, all right, like whatever. Like I don't need to talk to him. And I got a call from like an unknown number, and I'm like, what now? And I'm like, what? You know, it's like probably collect call. And he's like, hi, this is like Jose. I'm so sorry. And I'm like, oh my God, like Jose Theodore's on my caller ID. Like, what is going on? Like, so that one was really cool. But sitting down with Ovi and getting to talk to him about just, you know, the legacy he wants to set. And I was like, how do you want to be remembered? Like at the end of all of this? And he was just like a good person. He's like, that's it. And so that really, really rung home to me is like, he doesn't want to be known as the GOAT or greatness or anything. He just wants to be a good person.
No, that's a great answer, Sammy. But speaking of his legacy and maybe the legacy he wants to leave on the ice, do you think he'll stick around for 1,000? Do you think he has that fire to go as far as he can take it? I mean, like I was saying to Stefen before you came on, I could see him being like another Jaromir Jagr, where he just keeps playing as long as his body and as long as the league lets him play, right? You think he'll go above 1,000?
Well, I was talking to him and I was like, you know, I'm like, why is it important, you know, to have fun? Because he always says, like, I just want to have fun. I'm like, why is it important, you know, because, like, you can just play a hockey game and just go through the motions and play out your contract. And he's like, why wouldn't you? He's like, I just want to have a good time. Like, it's the greatest thing in the world. He's like, I love hockey. Like, he loves hockey. And he's like, once it's not fun, I'm not going to do it. He's like, I'm just going to keep doing it because it's a good time. And I just love being around the boys and hanging out and having beers and playing hockey. Like, I'm like, you know, it sounds pretty awesome to me. I remember TJ Oshie a couple of years ago. I always tell this story whenever I'm on somewhere because I was on the radio this past week and they're like, you know, it was Friday and I was getting ready to leave for the game against Chicago. And they were like, you know, do you think he does it tonight? And I'm like, you know, TJ Oshie once like pulled me aside and he's like, never bet against the big man. He's like, don't bet against the big man. And I'm like, I won't. Like, don't worry. Like, I'm like, I don't bet on sports, but I won't. Like, don't sweat it. It's all good. But I mean, it rings true. Like you, even like this number today, right? Like nobody thought it was possible. So 1,000, like, why not? Why not him? I mean, but even like if he chooses for some reason to stop playing tomorrow, nobody's touching this number. At least I don't think. You mentioned, I mean, it's ridiculous.
You mentioned betting. No one bets against Ovechkin. What you can bet is that something like this will always happen against the New York Islanders. But to go to the Capitals team, you mentioned Oshie. Obviously Ovechkin lost back from a couple years ago with the injuries that he had, an inability to play. And then TJ Oshie seems like one of the biggest Ovi fans, he can't play due to his injuries. What have you seen from this Capitals team this year? Because it's one thing to be a special moment for Ovechkin to do this, but he's doing it in a season where the Capitals are one of, if not the best teams in hockey. So what have you seen from this group since all the moves this summer that's allowed them to all have success this year?
Yeah, I'm going to do a cheesy answer here. The power of friendship can take you so far. It is the tightest locker room I think I've ever seen in Washington. Obviously I live here my whole life, but I've covered the Caps as like my 8th season with them, and this is by far the closest group. I mean, you have Brandon Duhaime, putting water cups under guys' helmets and messing with them, and you have Jacob Chikrin with the bands maker dance, and then you have the guys are having such a good time, and they're so close and tight. And it's just a bond that's like unbreakable. And you have these new guys who have meshed in so well, like, Pierre-Luc Dubois and, obviously Logan Thompson and the list goes on. But you also have the veteran guys, like Ovi. What he does as a captain is so underappreciated because he's such a leader, and the energy around the rink every day, it's contagious. And it starts with him, and, you see him and, obviously young guys like Dylan Strome, Alexei Protas, Connor McMichael stepping up too. It's just, it really has taken everybody this season, and that just translates to the ice. I mean, it takes everybody to succeed, and they're all pulling on the same rope together, which is such a hockey cliche, but it's true, and it starts with O. So a special group, but the bond they share off the ice has really carried them.
And so Sammy, how about Carberry behind the bench? I think in a year like last year, when I think fans were starting to think that was the part of the decline for the Capitals, and I think everybody was a little impressed with the fact that Carberry was able to help them get into the playoffs last year, right? Sneaking in with that last seed. And now you look at what the team's done this year, right? Obviously, you just talked about the players and how they've meshed together, and obviously all the talent there. But I think you got to give this guy even more credit now to bring all that together, to bring all those new faces in, have them mesh together on the ice, and now be a top team in this league, and without question, a Stanley Cup favorite, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, Carberry, I forget who I was talking to the other day, but they were like, who's going to win, the Jack Adams? And I'm like, it should be Spencer Carberry, and it's not even close. It's not even close. That guy, Ovi loves hockey. Spencer Carberry loves hockey. I mean, that guy, he is a machine. His passion, you can see it, behind the bench when you're watching him, obviously coach, but at practice, he's always trying to tell everybody how to get better. He's feeding the energy. He's smashing his stick against the ice, encouraging his guys. He's getting involved in the play himself. And it speaks volumes. I mean, his energy is contagious, and the players want to play for him. They rally around him. But at the same time, you have young guys like, Protas, who have hit, brand new heights thanks to him, right? And he's like, I credit Spencer because he's giving me this responsibility and working with me, and, just his leadership too, and his passion for the game. It's contagious. And it, like I said before, it starts with O, but it really starts from the leadership group, and it starts from the coaching staff, and it trickles down. And it's so special to watch, and it makes me so happy to just be able to see it and cover it as a journalist. There's nothing better than going to, an upbeat rink every day where, everybody's kind to you and everybody's in a good mood. And, even if they lose, it's nobody puts their heads down in panic. They keep their heads up and they just know what they have to do better, and they get right back at it. So it's been fun to watch. And honestly, it probably sets them up for a pretty nice spring too.
Last one for me here. Ryan Leonard last week was in college, probably partying in frat rooms and things like that. Now he's an NHLer with a goal already. Just what can you say about what you've seen from Leonard so far in his first week as an NHLer?
Yeah, it's crazy. And if you look at Ryan Leonard too, Ovi's scored in every single game that Ryan Leonard has been around for. Ryan Leonard does not know a Capitals team that hasn't had Ovechkin score in a game, which is crazy. But the kid's been great. I mean, he, like you said, it's crazy. One day you're in your dorm, and then the next day you're like living with Pierre-Luc Dubois, and living on the third floor. Having an NHL player be like, are you hungry? Are you thirsty? You need anything? Like, that's crazy. But also, I mean, you see the passion he has for the game, but the skill. I mean, that guy is like a machine. I think you look at him and he looks a little young, so it maybe takes away a little bit. Like, he can throw his weight around. Like, he's a gritty guy. Like, he, I think today he had a pretty big hit, in that Islanders game too. Like, he throws his weight around. He's gritty. He's fast. His shot is, wicked. And I think, as each game goes on, you see him getting more and more comfortable. So this is just the start for Ryan Letter, but it's been fun to have him around, and the guys love, having the kid around too. So it's a good time.
Well, Sammy, the last one I'll leave you with, talking about the Caps here being a Stanley Cup contender. If there is one, what is the one weakness this team has heading into the playoffs that they might be concerned about?
Oh, that's a good question. See, because like if Ovi didn't break the record today, like that, that's like a, focus is a big one, right? Of like, I feel like this was looming over them, these past few games as he gets closer and closer. And you look at the record recently and it's not pretty. And besides the Ovi goal today, the rest of that game wasn't pretty. Like, there's things that need to be cleaned up. And I think the biggest thing is consistency, but especially with their starts, right? I mean, I think you saw it today. I mean, Islanders go up 2-0 early, and it doesn't look good out of the gate. And the starts have been a little bit of a concern of just keeping that pace, starting with that pace, keeping that pace, and maintaining it for 60 minutes is so important. And it's just something that they haven't been able to do. I mean, you saw it against Chicago a little bit too. Like, the game like started to slip away from them a little bit, like in the second, and you're kind of like, what's going on? You know what I mean? Like, this is Chicago, like, no disrespect to Chicago, but, right. Chicago should be easier to handle. So I think, it's that, and it goes hand in hand too with, hey, don't play down to your opponent. And that's something that Washington really needs to look out for, especially when you're, likely to go up against, you could go up against a team like Montreal, or who knows? Maybe New York sneaks into the playoffs. May the Islanders
the Rangers sneak in.
May the Rangers sneak in. Who knows? Like,
anything can happen.
Anything can happen. But in the Caps, they've fallen into trap games where they play down to their opponent, and it comes back to bite them. So I would say that, but definitely a weight off their shoulders today. So I think you see a much more focused team going forward.
Well, Sammy, thank you for joining us so much on such a historic day for the Washington Capitals, for Ovechkin, for the NHL. Really appreciate your time, and look forward to next time.
No, thank you guys. And sorry I'm sweaty and in a
hey, win that second game.
Yeah, I was gonna say win that one now, and just lie to us about it next time.
I won't, and we'll probably lose. I hope none of my teammates are watching this, but they don't play good defense.
Well, hopefully anyway. the parking lot beers taste good after the game then.
I already pre-ordered my Domino's. We should be good to go.
Thanks, Sammy.
All right, Sammy. Thanks a lot. Have a good night.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
All right. Great spot from Sammy.
We've talked about it so much, by the way, too, about the trap and about how the Capitals play down. And I said last week on the show, I'm like, they're losing in the first round. If they play down to their competitions, they're playing a team that's much worse than them, given that the year they had. So,
anything can happen. And if that is the case, then it would be nice for it to be the Islanders. But a lot has to happen between now and then. It's probably 6-1 Montreal by now. I'm sure Jake will give us an update later.
In 25 minutes.
But great stuff from Sammy, and that was On the Line presented by Tovi Hockey. Why don't you tell us a little more about those guys?
Yes, Tovi Hockey, the innovative hockey technology company, is the creator of the 100% solid carbon fiber Diamond Air blade, the only other NHL-approved blade technology, with superior feel and increased swing speed due to its perfect design, unparalleled control thanks to the micro-grip blade texture, greater durability, courtesy of its patented aerodynamic cross-beam construction, and unparalleled shooting accuracy thanks to its large sweet spot. Tovi Hockey is changing the game by making the next-gen stick of tomorrow available today. Go to tovihockey.com, check out their great selection of sticks, gear, and apparel, and use promo code HNINY10 for 10% off your order. Tovi Hockey. Stronger, faster, superior.
Tovi Hockey, promo code HNINY10 at tovihockey.com. Check them on out. We're going to take one more break. Then it's time for What's on Tap.
Islanders fans, Sunday night is hockey night in New York. Whether you were raised at the barn in Uniondale or born in the stable at Belmont, tune in to Hockey Night in New York. Catch us live from Floored Media in Rockville Center, Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, as we cover all things Islanders at twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY. All episodes are also available on YouTube and all your favorite podcast providers. And for all you social butterflies, you can follow at Hockey Night NY on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for all the latest updates. Hockey Night in New York, the best night of the week for any Islanders fan. Thanks for giving some time to our sponsors. Ready to talk more Isles? The train rolls on right here on Hockey Night in New York.
That's right, folks. The train does roll on right into Center Station Bar and Grill, courtesy of the Long Island Railroad, because it's time for What's on Tap, presented by Center Station. And man, what a slate we have here coming up for the New York Islanders. And it all starts Tuesday against the Nashville Predators in Nashville. Fun town, that Nashville. You been there?
Yeah. Well, I was there for the draft. That was a fun time.
Oh, that's right. We talked about that.
They've been there a couple of times. I
definitely had FOMO when
it's
you were
like the
telling me
new
about
Florida.
that.
Like
The new Florida.
Everyone's moving to Nashville.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All the old people.
I compare it more to New Orleans. It's kind of like the country version of New Orleans, maybe a little bit.
Sure. What
do you think in the chat, folks? Let us know.
Yeah.
Is Nashville more New Orleans or more Florida? Anyway, that's an 8 p.m. start. Montreal's playing them now. We did get the score updated. It is now 2-1 Montreal, so things aren't looking great for the Islanders. And then Thursday night, Islanders-Rangers at UBS Arena. As we talked about before, the Rangers are checked out, so that could be 2 points in the standings for the Islanders. But again, it might be too little, too late. But what do you have to say about these games coming up?
Well, if the Islanders want to give themselves any chance, Nashville is terrible. And they've been terrible pretty much the entire year.
Yeah.
Barry Trotz's club.
Yeah,
he went for it this
that hurts.
summer. He did. You got to give him credit. He did it. Just every move backfired.
Right.
But Kiefer Bell is in the lineup. So, there's that.
Okay.
But yeah, the Islanders, 2 important wins. They played such a strong band of hockey these last 2 games. And this is one of those games against Nashville where you want to see them bury them early. Just kill them. I think they did that when Nashville was here, right? They killed them. So you got to just mimic that.
7 goals?
If they're,
Yeah.
If they're not going to make the playoffs, I don't think there's any. I know there are a lot of fans who want them to lose out to get the higher draft pick, but mentally, just play the best brand of hockey you could possibly play going into the summer. A lot of these guys really need that going into their offseason. No one wants them to lose 7 straight or 6 straight and just feel bad. The players,
right.
I don't think any of the players want to go.
No. That's embarrassing.
But 2 big wins, build on it, and then you place the Rangers. And like you said, it's. You never want to knock effort, but if you look at 2 teams, like the Islanders will lose games because of skill or talent, but they will never lose because of heart.
Correct.
The Rangers have all this talent. I mean, Shesterkin's been unreal. We know that, but too many guys that just don't give a you-know-what, it seems like. And I hate to knock effort, but they're not in it.
Stefen, this is the same team as a year ago. They won the President's Trophy, and now they're about to miss the playoffs.
It's a Laviolette effect.
Maybe.
It's 1 year after Laviolette. That's usually
he does have a short lifespan, it seems, with teams.
And I think Chris Drury has a lot to do with this and everything that happened. And I think the Rangers kind of lost who they're playing for here, and the room got broken up, and favorites in the room got moved. It's been a really,
shame.
Really bad situation.
Yeah.
But the Rangers have had the Islanders' number this entire year. They had their number last year, the Stadium Series. Get payback, because even if the Islanders aren't going to make it, ruin the Rangers' chances.
Ruin the Rangers' chances.
I mean, that's what I feel like teams that are out of the playoffs, now every team that's playing a team that's trying to make it, your goal is to ruin their chance. So for the Islanders, it's not going to be a Hall of Fame game where it's the greatest game in franchise history, but if you have a chance to knock the Rangers and I'll disallow them from making the playoffs, and you were one of those games late that the Rangers blew, Islander fans should be happy about that. And that should make that game exciting. It's at UBS, and give it to them and make the Rangers feel terrible about themselves.
Drag them down with you.
Yeah.
And folks, if you can't make it to UBS Arena for Islanders versus Rangers, well, you should come on down to Borelli's Tap Room in Long Beach, because we're going to have a viewing party there. Old friend Tony Stabile going to be sitting in for Stefen while Stefen is at the game, but he's going to call in from UBS Arena. Give us a little chat on the Islanders there. But we're going to have a lot of fun. 6 o'clock pregame show, again, at Borelli's. Then we're going to do all the fun stuff, 50-50 raffle, prizes, all that. And let's all potentially celebrate the Islanders ending the Rangers season with the win, because if the Rangers lose that one, they're probably toast too.
I just don't.
Let's be honest.
I'm just this mind-boggling just how bad the Rangers have been.
Yeah.
I think I forgot the stat, but they haven't put together like a 3-game win streak since December, November. It's crazy.
It's got to be, like you said, it's got to be a team that's checked out because all the talent is there. Everybody was picking, a lot of people were picking them for the Cup this year, all that, and they're not even going to get in. It's crazy. They don't even have major injuries as an excuse, right? Nobody got hurt.
It's complete opposite of the Islanders season.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
They do have Shesterkin, which does help, and they have Gabe Perreault is going to be in the game, and that's a fun guy to watch.
Sure.
But, yeah, Islanders want to show the passion and heart and put a exclamation point on what's been a tough year for them. Crush the Rangers. That's probably a good feeling for them.
Take them down. That's right. All right, well, that will do it for What's on Tap, presented by Center Station Bar and Grill. Catch great food and drinks, live events, Isles games, 279A Sunrise Highway in Rockville Center. Always a great time at Center Station. And now we move on to Hero of the Week. That's right, Hero of the Week now. Hero of the Week for the league is obviously Alexander Ovechkin. I don't think you can argue with that. But, Stefan, who do you got?
I'm doing Ilya Sorokin for the reason of how he handled all this. We tried to talk to him the other day about the record before the Wild game, and he said, I don't really want to talk about it. I want to focus on Minnesota. He played a fantastic hockey game. And then today he said after the game that, he was a little anxious, a little nervous going up against Ovi, but the goal goes in, and the Islanders still have a game to play.
Yeah.
And it's 2-1, and it's very easy for the Islanders to just fall apart there, and Sorokin included, and lose this game. It wouldn't have been a shock if that got the Caps going. They rally and the Islanders lose. But to give Sorokin credit, he was really good in this game.
He was.
He's probably the biggest reason they end up winning this game. And I want to say, too, it's kind of weird. Going into this game, Sorokin had never allowed a goal to Ovechkin, and somehow Sorokin had only faced Ovechkin 3 times in his career heading into tonight, 4 shots. I thought that was pretty low.
Yeah.
I know Ovechkin had the injury earlier this year, but I'm like, that's low. Well, he goes, the first 6 shots that Sorokin has seen from Ovechkin, he stops. Now it's 8 for 9. Pretty good record for him there.
Sure.
And then afterwards, Ovechkin asked for Sorokin's stick. He could have been bitter about it and not done it.
It would have been great if he said no.
He goes into the Caps room, takes a picture with him, with his family. I think Sorokin at the All-Star game a couple years ago babysat Ovechkin's kids or something. Did something with that. So I think just the way Sorokin handled it and just the maturity of Sorokin. It's very easy for a guy not, he could have been annoying the whole time, not talking about it, being bitter about allowing the goal, not talking after the game, but not saying he was the biggest cheerleader for it. I don't think he's in love with the fact that it's him.
Sure.
But he's kind of embraced it.
Yeah.
And you want to see that because I think being a fellow Russian countryman, it's important. Growing up watching Sorokin. And I think it was really cool to see that bond between Ovechkin and Sorokin. And the way he handled it is being like, yep, it's me.
He's a total laid-back, easygoing guy, I mean, that's a guy who's just going to be like, sure, yeah, no problem.
I asked Anders after the game, I said, so how much time until you start chirping him for it? And he goes, it was a good shot. Like, we're not going to give him too much stuff. But
Not
yeah, I
too
think
much.
Sorokin, yes, he had the bad play maybe a couple of weeks ago, and we were wondering, okay, is he just tired, fatigue? But if the Islanders are going to do the unthinkable, we always talk about how it's going to be Sorokin. In these last 2 games, he's looked really, really good. So you want to hope that Sorokin goes into the summer feeling good. He should probably turn off his TV and not watch any highlight reel shows. But yeah, I'll give Sorokin the credit here because the way he handled it through this whole thing.
Okay, I like it. He did handle it well. He got the win today. He played very well. I'm going to pivot over to 2-goal man Mark Gatcomb. That's right. Another stellar performance for a guy who barely gets 10 minutes a night. Looked really good. 9, 10, 11 minutes a night. This is a guy who I think could be a nice little staple there on the bottom 6 for the Islanders, for the forward group. He's definitely been impressive this season. 3 goals in the last 5 games. He had the one against Tampa. So this is a guy who, he looks pretty good down there. We've talked about the concerns on the bottom 6 earlier in the season, especially the 4th line, trying to kind of find that replacement for, the best 4th line in hockey that was, and maybe he's a guy who can be a part of the future there.
Yeah, I just want to give a stat here.
Please.
Alex Ovechkin in his career, 13.1 shooting percentage.
Yeah.
Mark Gatcomb, 25.8. Shatters him.
Who's the greatest goal scorer right now?
Mark Gatcomb.
That's right.
Well, it's Mike Bossy, but we don't have to get into that because that was a debate too. Everyone got confused between most
Add
goals
fuel to the fire. Let's go.
Most goals in NHL history and greatest goal scorer. It's not the same thing. I think Mike Bossy is the greatest goal scorer. I know he has the greatest shooting percentage of all time, but you have to remember, if Bossy plays until late 30s, he's probably the one that Ovechkin's breaking, not Gretzky.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. I'm sure there's folks in the chat that would affirm that. But yeah, this is a guy who, if he didn't have the back problems and had to retire at such an early age, I forget the exact age, but I think he was like right around 30.
Yeah.
And I think what was it, Empty Netters that was talking about it maybe a month or two ago, how he went out with he was like, I got to retire. I only scored 28 goals in my last season, which is still excellent, right? Yeah. But this is a guy who, if he had stayed healthy, very well could have eclipsed 1,000 goals if he rode, longer into his career. He didn't, but that's the formula, right? Not only do you have to be a supreme talent, you got to be healthy, and you got to still be a guy that can produce into your late 30s. So, yeah, we may never see this again, but I'll tell you what, if we do, it's going to be a long time. Yeah,
and then you mentioned it. Players in 10 years probably play into their mid-40s. The age is going to keep going up with the advances in technology, nutrition, so that plays a huge part. But Mike Bossy, greatest goal scorer of all time.
There you have it. That'll do it for the heroes of the week. And now I'm going to tell you guys about Isles Fix. That's right, Islanders country. Get your daily fix of Isles news, highlights, and analysis by subscribing to Isles Fix, the Monday through Friday Islanders newsletter sent directly to your inbox. Sign up for free or become a paid subscriber for added benefits at islesfix.substack.com. And now we travel on over to the Snake Den.
Welcome to the Snake Den with Jake the Snake Radanis.
That's right, folks. It's time to slither our way over to the Snake Den to hang out with our pal, Jake the Snake Radanis. Brand new hat. I love it, buddy. Looks like a Vegas marquee there. The New York Mets. How'd they do today, pal?
They won.
Look at that.
So the Islanders and Mets won on the same day.
Big day for Jake.
Huge day.
What are you doing to celebrate tonight?
Probably going to try to get some good sleep.
Okay, great. Party animal.
You won't get this, but after Ovechkin scored the goal, Castellanos grand slam.
I know.
Ooh,
yeah,
that
insane.
Sounds exciting.
We should have bet that.
For the non-baseball fans, every time something tragic happens in the world, this guy, Nick Castellanos, hits a home run.
Okay.
Automatically.
Obviously, it was tragic for Islander fans, and Ovechkin scored, and then grand slam, so it just fit the bill. But continue.
Okay, I think I blacked out during that whole thing, but that's fine. Go ahead, Jake. What do you got?
Yeah, Ovi did it. So
that's a wrap.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this for so long, predicting how predictable it is for this to happen against the Islanders. That we could say months out when he's goals off that he's going to come to UBS Arena and he's going to score it against the Islanders. Very cool though. It happened in the best way possible for Islanders fans and the Islanders because the Islanders won the game.
They did.
Yeah, so Ovechkin had the big goal. Doesn't matter at the end of the day for the Islanders because they wound up winning the game. And it's very cool because growing up, it's Crosby and Ovechkin were the two dudes that I watched the most growing up. So to be able to see Ovechkin eclipse such a crazy record and do it on Long Island is definitely very cool.
Who did you like better growing up, Ovechkin or Crosby?
I think Ovechkin, just because of the rivalry, more rivalry with the Penguins. I think I've grown to like Crosby a bit more now, though.
I'll admit it. I was very anti-Crosby in the first probably 5 to 7 years or whatever it was. But I will say I've developed a lot more respect for him later on in his career, and I don't think you can take away just what an incredible player that he was. But I did always like Ovechkin. I actually owned a jersey of his until I had to throw it out because it just got too raggedy. So they expire after a while.
Just same thing. Ovechkin and Crosby. Anytime those games went to overtime, you knew that one of them was ruining your night and week and month.
That's true.
But you remember Ovechkin's first ever NHL goal is probably one of the sickest you'll ever see, and he's just the great ape being the name. Like it's just everything about Ovechkin, Ovi, just the nickname, everything is like greatness, right? And we talk about it all the time. But he ruined. If you're an Islander fan that was born in the late 90s, early 2000s, he just decimated your childhood.
Yeah, Ovechkin and Crosby.
You didn't see a monster under your bed or in your dreams in your closet. It was Alexander Ovechkin.
Yeah, with the missing tooth.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Poetry, too, with Gretzky scoring his last goal ever against the Islanders, and then the goal that breaks it with Gretzky in the crowd.
Yeah.
Happens to be against the Islanders. So, yeah, very, very cool stuff to see that happen.
Absolutely. So, do you think it can be broken?
No, I don't think so.
This is it?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't think so. I mean, at least not by anybody who's playing right now. I think Austin Matthews maybe.
He'd have to be the first one you think of, right?
But I don't think it's even going to be remotely close.
Okay.
You know what's crazy, though? We mentioned Crosby. How many years Crosby lost in this league with the concussions, the lockout, the COVID?
Once again, you got to be healthy. You got to stay healthy.
But I think it's cool, though, too. You had two guys come in, a year apart, Ovechkin and Crosby. They weren't at the same draft, right?
No, it was a year or two. Yeah,
and
it was very
close. The fact
close.
that both these legends are still playing at the top of their game, it's probably one of the greatest duos in the. I know there's been other players in the league. Like you have Lemieux and the top guys, but I just think for us, being able to watch Crosby and Ovechkin go at it year for year and still be at the best players in this league is it's really cool.
And what added to it too is they played in the same division.
Yeah.
I mean, you had the Southeast there for a while, sure, when it was 6 divisions.
Yeah.
But I mean, these are guys that played each other, 4 or 5 times a season for the majority of their career. So it really helped to build up that hype. And I'll give the NHL credit. I mean, it was something that they always put a focus on, building up that rivalry between the two. But then also you got to see the mutual respect that these guys had for each other. I mean, they look like buddies away from it all, but despite the fact that they were talking up the rivalry and building that up. But these were two guys that had, they were just such pros that they had such admiration for each other because of the games that they were able to play.
And I don't know where Ovechkin said this, but there was an interview where Ovechkin said when his career is done, he wants to sit down with Crosby, grab a beer, and just reminisce about them, about the league, about the experience. So they should do a podcast together when they're done.
Wow.
That'd be great. That'd be cool.
There we go.
That's a pretty good idea.
I'm copywriting that trademark. Alex, you can call me.
There you go. All right, Jake, is that all you got?
Also, just wanted to highlight Callum Ritchie's been tearing it up in the OHL. Oh, my goodness. I think they actually just won today to advance. He had another 2 assists. This season, he has 70 points in 47 games. And, I think his last 5, he has 7 points. He's just on fire. So that's something to look forward to.
That is nearly 2
hopefully
points
years
per
to come.
game. That's impressive.
Something not to look forward to is another Islanders prospect is staying in school. Quinn Finley's going back to Wisconsin for his junior year. Had a really good year. I think he had 40 points in 30 games. He said that's what was best for him. I'm not saying it's because Bridgeport is a dumpster fire right now and struggling, but he's going back to school. So Danny Nelson's going back to school. Quinn Finley's going back to school. We don't know about Yzerman, but he better be going back to school. He should get his master's. But Richie's doing well, and that's important because you're expecting him to be a number 2C or 3C next year. And he didn't have maybe he had some slow marks during this year, but he's got points in every playoff game. He's really rising to the occasion, and the Islanders need a big-time player, especially a young player, to be one of those guys that you can rely on in big moments because, they have Barzal and Horvat, but young blood is very important for this team.
Yes, indeed. So Jake, it's kind of a tradition now. We're looking at the games ahead. Now, we have another show coming up on Thursday for the Islanders Ranger game, so we'll keep it short. 2 games coming up here, Nashville and the Rangers. How are the Islanders going to fare?
3-0.
That's impossible.
I'll go 1-0-1.
Okay.
I got to be careful with this, though, because I think every time I've said they're going to beat the Rangers, that they don't.
Okay.
But I think they do this time.
Okay.
And I think that they have a bad loss to Nashville, and they lose in overtime.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
After the drama of today, they're going to come out slow against the Pred?
I don't know. I have the feeling about it, unfortunately. Also, if the Canadians hang on to it, I don't know if that's going to hurt.
Take the wind out of their sails, perhaps?
Yeah, so.
Okay.
I'll go 1-0-1.
Okay, 1-0-1 against the Predators and the Rangers. We'll see if you're smart or foolish. We'll find out.
We shall see.
Well, Jake, it's always a fun trip to the Snake Den. Thanks very much. And now we're going to pivot away from that to Questions Brewing. Ed, Jay, how we doing, guys?
Well, we're here.
You are here.
We're here.
You are.
I'm doing great.
That's great news. How's Jay doing tonight? All right,
there it is.
He looks great. All right, what a smile.
By the way, Jay's actually on his spare time. He is Sparky the mascot.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's what I was told.
I didn't know he could move like that.
Yeah, he moves
That's
like
impressive.
Jagger.
There you go, Chad.
So how's
fact
the chat,
about
Ed?
Jay?
What's going on?
Here and there.
Okay.
Just a little all over.
Why don't you hit the intro just so I can hear it?
Oh, shit, you want to hear it?
I do.
It's time for a question.
Just to make it official.
So go ahead.
Ask us some questions. All right, now we're in the window.
What do you got?
We got questions. We're going to start off with Dale S. What's wrong, Jay? Do you want to take this over? Jay wants to go home. We're going to start off with Dale S. He says, is there a chance the Isles will try to sign Brock Nelson in free agency, or has that ship sailed?
Is there a chance? There's always a chance. But if he didn't take the offer that the Islanders had, which was we're not going to go over this, I don't think any situation arises where the Islanders have the best offer. So I would say they could try, but there's no way Brock's signing back.
I would say slim to none, unless, depending on what else the Islanders do this summer and they decide they're willing to up their offer, probably not, but,
Yeah. Next up from Jane, she asks, did John McClann say anything about being on the ice for Gretzky's 894th and being behind the bench for Ovi's 895th? Is he the only person who was ice level for both?
Did John McClain?
Yeah.
So we can't talk to any Islanders assistant coaches. So he didn't say anything to us. We can't talk to him.
Oh, okay. So
I guess that's
no
the short and sweet answer.
Yeah.
Craig, regular human bartender, asks, do you think the quote-unquote off-season moves Lou Lamoriello mentioned involves more than signing RFAs, picking at 13 15, signing a free agent third liner, and using draft picks to get an aging D-man off this team?
I don't know if you have to use draft picks to get one of the aging D-men, to be completely honest. I think there's positive value on Scott Mayfield, and your return's not going to be great, but I don't think you have to attach a draft pick to move a Mayfield or a Pulak. Maybe you have to retain money, but I don't think they're going to have to attach. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, Lou has to make hockey trades because we've talked about it. Let's say they have $30 million in cap space right now. It's a little bit different, but you got to pay so many players. Mm-hmm. Dobson, Romanov, you're keeping Palmieri, Holmstrom, Siplikov, Gakkom, your Boquist, D'Angelo, Riley. You got to figure it out. After that, there's probably around $8 or $9 million left.
Right.
And everyone's going to be going for the free agents. Everyone has more in play because the cap's going up. So if the Islanders are going to get better this summer, they're going to have to make hockey trades. That starts probably with trading Pajot. Other players that you might be able to get off the books. But yeah, if the Islanders are going to improve, I think it's going to be from hockey trades, not free agency.
I think the way Lou was talking, it's an indication that his intention is to make legitimate changes, right? Not the, kind of the sarcastic, they're just going to do this, just going to do that. Like, I think he's made it clear that there's an intention to overhaul at least a portion of this roster. Now, look, it's all going to come down to the execution and if he's actually able to pull it off, what he's able to bring in. And look, maybe you look at the Nelson trade and it gives you a little hope, right? Okay, this is a guy who was able to swing Brock Nelson into a very good return, right? And look, another thing you got to look at too, even though I know there's a lot of fans out there that aren't happy with Lou's complete body of work, but you look at his trade deadlines, especially when this team was more competitive, he put his sights on a guy and he got him. JG Pajot.
And locked him up.
Kyle Palmieri, to a lesser degree, Pierre Engvall, Bo Horvat. I mean, you look at, if you're a long-term Islander fan, there was no general manager doing that for the Islanders previous. I mean, Garth Snow had that, rabbit out of the hat Ryan Smith acquisition the one season, but other than that, Snow barely did anything at all. Well, that didn't really pan out. I mean, that turned into
he had a good year, but he
did, but then it turned into a disaster because he couldn't keep the damn guy, right? And that's another thing too. Lou was able to keep the guys he looked at, right? He kept JGP, he kept Palmieri, he kept Bo Horvat. He was able to re-sign all of those guys. So I think at least Lou has a history of setting his sights on somebody and having success. He has that good trade with Brock Nelson. Again, even if you don't like his whole body of work, the guy's at least proven that he can make deals that can benefit this team. Now it's a question of competing with 30 to 31 other teams in the league. Can he make the deals, not only contracts, but also trades that can bring in players that are going to help this team and perhaps get rid of players that are going to help this team become younger, a little more skilled, a little speedier. So it's a lot of work to be done, but I think he's made it clear that's his intention. We'll see if he can pull it off.
What Sean's saying is that Mitch Marner is signing an 8-year extension, a 7-year extension.
Don't rule it out. Listen, I think Lou can do it.
He had Lou in Toronto, and Matt Martin's like a big brother to Mitch, so you never know.
I'm not saying he's going to do it. I'm just saying there's a chance.
So it involves more, is what we're saying. Yes, it does involve more than what he stated. Okay.
Absolutely.
Next up from Freedom Fun Adventure, he asks, how did the Isles rise from this mediocrity we have all suffered for so long if they keep pumping out their chests after meaningless wins and ruining draft position?
Are they pumping out their chests after these wins?
No, I think they're like any team, like you want to win. They're never once this year where like we feel like we're the best. We feel there's
or even like, oh, we're heading to the finals.
After every win, it's a good win, but we have to put a second one together. We have to be better. I don't think they're puffing their chests out at all.
No, I agree. I don't think they're a team that right. No, I think that they're very aware of the disappointment that this season has been. Sure. I think that, and like you said before, and like we've said many times now on the show, even if they're getting beat on the ice in talent and speed, whatever it is, they're still putting it all out there more times than not. Now, maybe you're not getting all 18 guys on the ice pulling at the rope at every juncture, but I would say the majority of the games up until now, 73, 74, whatever the hell it is now, they're in there. They're trying to win these games, and you can even look back where a lot of those games where you see they lost by 2 goals is because they let up an empty netter because the game was a 1-goal game. They played a lot of 1-goal games. They failed
the power play, and they didn't bury him.
Special teams would have made a big difference. But anyway, not to go off on a tangent, but I think this is a team that's aware of the disappointment this season has been. They dealt with the injuries. They, there were some things that got in the way, but they know they can be better. And I think ultimately everybody kind of has to understand and realize that this version of this team has ran its course. It's time to refuel. It's time to recharge. And it goes back to the previous question. They got to make changes this summer. And I think that they can have a bit of a rejuvenation, like maybe not as dramatic as the Capitals, but it's possible.
And I think that you nailed it. They got to stay healthy. I mean, you lost every defenseman, Barzal twice. You can't win when that's the case. It's really impossible. And I'm not saying they're a cup contender if Barzal stays healthy, but they're probably a playoff team. And people are like, well, they're a first-round exit regardless. You never know, but I think they would have a much better time if... I mean, Duclair. We didn't talk about Duclair. We should probably talk about him.
We have questions.
Okay, good. Okay,
yeah.
So
we'll get into that. But before that, we're going to go to Sloppy Tuna. He says, why does... I'll never get over
Hall
this.
of Fame names tonight.
Hall of Fame names. Yeah. Why does Wah hate Scott Perunovich? Seriously, though, he seems like he's a system fit for Wah. Why isn't he getting a chance even for limited minutes?
Obviously, something happened outside of that Ranger game because that's something they can think of. No one boxed out Matt Rempe. Ryan Pulak didn't box. Nobody did. Everyone failed against Rempe. So maybe he just didn't like something that Perunovich did. And maybe look at the depth chart and he just doesn't value it. But I know the advanced analytics have Perunovich when he plays as one of the best defensemen in terms of zone exits. So I would give him another shot. Mayfield's been in the lineup and he's looked okay, but yeah, I don't see why not. You want to see what this guy is. I think once the Islanders get mathematically eliminated, I think you'll see, if they do get eliminated, you'll see Perunovich back in, but he's a very talented player. He's a smaller guy, but he's like a Riley D'Angelo. It's escape the D zone, get the puck up quickly. So it's a good question.
Well, let me ask you this. How has he looked at practice?
I mean, he looks good. Like he looks like himself. I think practice has been good for him. Unfortunately for me, just, you want to see him play in these games. I think for the Islanders, especially when we talk about what are they going to do this offseason and what defenseman are they going to move? Yeah. Like Perunovich's an RFA. You have him on the cheap if you want to keep him. And they could keep him and make him the 7th if they decide that. But he's very talented. And I know he was a Hobie Baker winner or finalist. Or no, I think he won. Or finalist, whatever it was.
Won.
Yeah.
I think so.
And there was a condition on this trade, which you don't even know what it was. It was probably games played. So I don't know if the Islanders, have to give up a pick.
But could be Lou. Yeah.
He's very talented. So it really comes down to if the Islanders are going to try to move a Pulak and a Mayfield, and you have 2 open spots, I wouldn't be shocked to see Perunovich maybe being a starter. But yeah, it's weird how he hasn't gotten the opportunity, especially when Mayfield comes out and Boquist comes out. Why hasn't Scott? I want to ask why that didn't have the chance to do it today, maybe next practice. But yeah, it is interesting.
And some coaches just pick their guys.
Yeah.
They just like their guys and they stick with them for better or worse.
Yeah. Aisle 72, we're moving on to what's going to happen with Duclair.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, Anthony Duclair had a bad game against Tampa, and after the game he was asked about, was asked about Duclair's play, and he unloaded. God-awful, lucky to be in the lineup. A day later, they have off. The next day, they have practice, and Wah begins his presser by saying Duclair has essentially asked for a leave of absence from the team to reflect on his season. Now, I don't want to speak for Duclair because I don't know what's going on outside of hockey. There could be things going on, and it's not my job or Sean's or anyone's here is to do that. But what I will say is it's not a coincidence that Wah destroys him post game and then he takes his leave of absence. Like I don't think Duclair walks away.
Plus 1 equals 2 here.
Right, and I think the biggest thing was Wah knocking his effort or agreeing that it was an effort issue. I think for any player that takes pride, and there are times where I think Duclair wasn't giving 100%. I don't know how much mentally his injury took on him. It's clear. I have some stats here I want to get to in a second. I was talking to Lee about this in Horvat. They appreciate how hard Duclair worked to get back. But I think what happened here, and again, I'm speculating a little bit, but I think just the physical toll of the injury, he had a torn groin. He comes back after 8 weeks. He's trying to do something that it just should be coming naturally. His skating ability is his bread and butter. And I think it just got to the point where he overwhelmed himself mentally of, how am I not back? Like, why can't I do what I want to do? I rehab so hard. I feel good one day, don't feel good another day. What is going on? I think it took so much of a mental toll. And then when your coach knows what's going on with your injury, I'm not excusing Duclair's struggles just in the injury. I think he could have been better in a lot of games. But when you're really close with your coach, he coached him in juniors, and you're trying so hard to be the guy that you can't be, and your coach knocks your effort, that cannot sit well. So do I say that Duclair made the right decision to walk away with 8 games left for his team fighting for the playoffs? I don't know, because I don't know what else is going on. It's sad, though. You hope the best for Duclair. I don't think he's getting traded. He has a full no trade. I don't think he's retiring. I think he'll be back, and I think it's important for him to feel good mentally going into the summer. Let him feel good, because the Islanders are counting on him for next year. I just want to read some stats quick. Sure. This is the biggest thing with Duclair is his legs. Last season, his top speed was 23.32 miles per hour. He had 19 speed bursts of 22 or more, 138 speed bursts of 20 to 22, and 404 speed bursts of 18 to 20. And this year, while the average 23.16 is pretty close to last year, only 22 mile per hour speed bursts, 43 20 to 20 22 mile per hour speed bursts, and only 194 18 to 20. So it's clear as day the injury affected him in a ridiculous way, and you just have to hope that this is not a situation where Duclair can never get back to that, because if he can't get his speed back, he's not going to be as useful as the Islanders expect, and they really need him to be that good.
Right, and I guess you have to ask, did he come back too quick?
Yeah, I mean, it was 8 weeks. The thing is, I don't think he would have been, people were saying too is, well, if injury was so bad, why was he even playing? I think he should have been shut down after the deadline. Once it was clear he can't get back. Like, it's clear as day. I don't think it was a situation where the groin was getting worse. I think it was just pain tolerance. He had told us he's not going to be 100%. And that, like I said, there are things that Duclair could have done to be effective, but when it got to the point where he was not doing anything to be effective, that's when the Islanders probably should have shut him down. We don't know. Is he going to need surgery? Like, we've seen this before. Scott Mayfield last year, 41 games with a broken ankle, and the Islanders said, you know what? Shut it down. So we wish Duclair obviously nothing but the best. I don't think he was quitting on his team. I had a one-on-one with Anders Lee about the mental aspect that goes into coming back from a major injury, and he was so appreciative of Duclair. So I don't think they look at it like that at all, but we just hope the best for Duclair, and he's going to have to be a big part of this team if they're going to want him, if they're going to make the playoffs next year.
Absolutely.
Just a quick update from Tom Boyle. It's still 2-1 Montreal.
Okay. All right.
So Dale S. asks, why does Lou seem to always give out deals that are too long in term? It seems he doesn't have the understanding that longer term deals give you less cap flexibility.
Well, I don't think longer term deals give you less. I think the whole point of the longer term deal is to give you more cap flexibility. The reason they're longer is to get the AAV down. And also, everyone can make fun of the Engvall deal or the Mayfield deal, but with the cap going up as high as it's going up, these are nothing contracts. And sure, money's money, but the whole point of the long-term deal is to get the AAV down. So it makes it more movable and more, your ability to handle it and make space. Now, should Engvall have gotten 7? Was there another team offering 6? Probably not at all. But I think the whole point was, and we're seeing it now with Engvall, by the way, not saying he deserves a 7-year deal, but how effective this guy can be.
Right.
And if he finds a way to continue what he's doing next year and doesn't get bought out or traded, which he might be, having that guy at $3 million, and if he's doing what he's doing now and effective, you're getting him at cheap. People might not say that, but you are getting him at cheap. And then for Scott Mayfield, I mean, you're getting a guy that he's had a really solid year. For everyone that wants to knock him, I know he's been in and out of the lineup lately. Leads a team in plus minus. I know it's not a great stat, but given how many goals this team gives up,
true.
It probably means something. And when he's on his game, he's a big body right side guy that kills penalties and plays 18 to 20 minutes, and you're getting him at 3.5, right? So yeah, they're not amazing deals. But at the same time, you're getting these guys at cheap, and when they're at the top of their game, they could help this team win hockey games.
Long-term deals are a gamble,
yeah,
right?
Of course.
And you're betting high on a player where you think that over the course of the contract, it's going to almost be maybe not a steal, but at least something that's more reasonable, right? Because here's the thing. If Pierre Engvall plays to his ability night in, night out, nobody's complaining about that $3 million, because we've seen the flashes of this guy and what he's capable of. The problem is the guy disappears for X amount of games at a time. Now maybe he's a guy who can still figure it out. Maybe we get to find out if he's still going to be on the team next year and he can be a better, more consistent player. And that's the one thing we haven't seen from him, and that's frustrating. And you look at Scott Mayfield, and that's another thing where you're betting on a guy who's going to be a reliable bottom pairing guy. He gets hurt long term, and that stunts his ability to be worth the contract. But the thing I'll say about those two guys again is like their contracts are small.
Yeah.
3.5. Like you can bury a good percentage of those in the minors if you have to. Like they're not crippling contracts. I mean, you want to talk about a long-term deal that didn't work out. Let's remember Rick DiPietro. And the funny thing is, if he's a guy who could have stayed healthy, that would have been a bargain. I think he had 4.5 per year back then.
And he probably would have gone down as I mean, one of the best goalies in Islanders history for sure. I mean, he was one of the people expected him to have an unreal career.
Like that was that was 15 years unnecessary gamble. Thankfully, you can't even make those deals anymore.
Right.
But the thinking was, if he's the goalie who everybody thinks he's going to be,
he's your franchise.
He's not. He's going to be your franchise, but he's also going to be pennies on the dollar. Like if he had have been all-star Rick DiPietro that he showed for a year, whatever it was, like that would have been an amazing contract. But it sure as shit blew up in Wong and the Islanders' faces. But listen, you can make these gambles sometimes, and we're seeing 2 more recent examples of it where it's not exactly panning out, but at the same time, these aren't heavy deals where you can't get away from them. You know what I mean?
I mean, get ready for Noah Dobson deal, guys. Everyone's gonna. They're not going to like it when you get the alert that he signed an 8x8 or something like that, and then everyone's going to panic. But if Dobson finds a way to show anything like he did last year, if they take a bridge deal and in 3 years he's a consistent 70-point guy, you're looking at like 11, 12, 13 annually, and they're getting him at 8. So that's one thing to think about.
If that happens. Yeah.
So.
Next up, from Jeremy Ford Hamlet, he says, do you see Callum Ritchie coming up to join the Islanders next year? Do Nelson and Finley do all 4 years at college? And I just want to combine that with a question from DTMR, who says, does Finley go back to Wisconsin to change the Islanders holding his rights? So Callum Ritchie will be with the Islanders next year. Probably as your 2nd or 3C. I don't know if Nelson goes for 4 years. I think a lot of it depends on Bridgeport and how they revamp that system and make it a place where prospects come and thrive and not die, essentially. And then so we talked about Quinn Finley. He's going back to school. He's going to sign his ELC, I think. I mean, he has to turn pro for that, but they're not going to lose his rights, I don't think. The Islanders really don't do that. So yeah, and I think Yzerman will probably go for a couple more years, but he's on a different timeline than Nelson. I could see Nelson after this year coming over, but listen, it's not a knock if they spend 4 years at school. You have to remember too is if they're just going to go to Bridgeport, some of these guys want to go right into the NHL, and if the Islanders have openings, like that's going to entice them to come. Not that they should be guaranteed NHL spots, but it's more likely for their agents to say go if there's an opening at 2C or left wing 2 or whatever. But if they're just saying, oh, you're going to go to Bridgeport and the Islanders lineup, let's say they sign Marner, they get Ehlers, and that's spots now that are taken away from these young guys. None of these prospects in college are bottom 6 players. Could they turn out to be NHL bottom 6 players? Sure, but I'm not going to say the Islanders failed Bellows and Wallstrom and Dal Cole and all those guys, but when there was times to try them out in top 6 roles, they started their careers as bottom 6 guys, proved to not be bottom 6 guys, and they never earned the opportunity to be top 6 guys because their games never developed into that. If Wallstrom comes into the league as a top 6 forward and gets confidence immediately and plays with top end stars. I mean, you look at, I'm not knocking Pajot at all, but when Pajot came to the Islanders, he's playing on the 3rd line with bottom 6 players. How much offense could he have produced if he's playing in a top 6 role with those guys? Look what he did with Ottawa. Sure. He was a top 6 guy. So talent around you matters. And I think for the Islanders, these prospects have to be given a chance to thrive when they get here. I think them spending a couple years in Bridgeport and then getting a chance as your 4th line left winger, that's going to stunt their growth, if anything, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I don't have any problem with having players marinate.
Yeah.
In the lower, ranks, if they need it, that's fine by me. And even bringing guys along slowly is fine too. Like maybe Ritchie comes in. I mean, you seem to think, and most people seem to think he's going to make the team next year. That's great.
So, yeah.
That's great for the Islanders. Maybe you start him on the wing.
Yeah.
Brock Nelson played wing before he settled into.
Sometime
there you go.
In the OHL.
So and right now, before any moves made this summer, they have depth at center.
Yeah.
You have Horvat, you have Barzal that can move to center to replace Brock Nelson. You still have Pajot, and Ritchie's probably not going to play 4th line center anyway, right? So you might see him on the wing. He might be a guy who's a weapon on the wing alongside a Barzal or a Horvat.
And today's NHL too, to go back to go against my point I just made, is that in today's NHL, the best teams, you have speed and skill up and down your lineup. Your 4th line's not your no scoring 4th line. All of these guys can score. So yeah, I think it depends on just how they use these young players. But stay in school. It's important to get an education.
Stay in school. You got one more, Ed?
Yeah, Mr. Tom Boyle asks, when was the last time the Islanders and Rangers missed the playoffs together?
I feel like I actually read that recently, but it probably escaped my brain as soon as it entered. So I don't remember when that was. But I'm
Jake,
trying
get on it.
Yeah, Jake's he's working the phone right now to figure out when that was. But I mean, just looking back, I mean, maybe somewhere in like the, I don't know, mid to late 2000s
before COVID.
That would be my guess.
What I got here on Google is 2014 to 2015.
2014.
Wait, no.
That's not possible.
That's not possible.
No, because the Islanders made the playoffs in 15. They played the Caps. They won 7 games to the Caps in 15.
That's on AI right there.
Well,
so.
AI is wrong.
Dude, yeah.
Don't trust
I've been using
AI.
it, and it's been getting dates.
Well, maybe it was
wrong
14. Maybe
constantly.
it was 13-14. The Islanders did not make the playoffs in 13-14. So maybe that was the year. So Tom Boyle, we don't know.
We don't know, and neither does AI. So
Use Google.
you're out of luck, Tom Boyle.
Check Wikipedia.
You might have to check the tapes.
Okay. All right. That's all we got. If you got that was a quick one. If you got one more.
How many goals is Bellows scoring on Tuesday?
Jeez. He has scored since being recalled, so he's not a zero guy. That'd be funny.
He probably scores the first goal in the first period. That's what I'm going to go
when
with.
the Islanders put up the 7th spot on them, Bellows had a glorious chance to score and he got denied. So, yeah, I guess everybody's rooting for Bellows now, you know?
Maybe. But that's going to do it for Questions Brewing. That's going to do it for the show. So let's wrap it up. All right, folks, want to send a big thanks out to Sammy Silber of the Hockey News for joining us tonight. Great spot talking Ovechkin, talking Capitals. Great stuff there. Also want to send a big thanks to our sponsors, starting with Main Street Board Game Cafe, located at 307 Main Street in Huntington Village. Find out how to unplug your game at mainstboardgamecafe.com. Also, a big thanks to Center Station Bar and Grill. Head on down to 279A Sunrise Highway for Isles games, live music, karaoke, comedy shows, and more. Also, a big thanks to Razor and Kniff, attorneys at law. Nobody likes going to court, but if you have to, call 212-LAW-1500 for a free consultation. And last but not least, a huge thanks to Tovey Hockey, creators of the Diamond Air Blade. Go to toveyhockey.com to check out their great products and use promo code HNINY10 for 10% off your order. And folks, if you have the time, please rate, review, and subscribe to the show so that you never miss one, so we can talk about the Islanders and everything going on around the team. Stefen Rosner, where can we find you in places on the internet and such?
Yeah, you can find me at Stefen_Rosner at STEFEN_. Can you stop looking at me like that?
Why? I'm just smiling. You're doing such a good
You
job.
follow me on Twitter, Blue Sky with whatever that ending is. I can see it out of the corner of my eye. The Hockey News Islanders site, NHL.com. The Almonter is Monday through Friday. Sean, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Shawnee Hockey. That's the only place you can find me. You can follow the show at Hockey Night NY on all social media platforms. You can go to the website at HockeyNightNY.com. Jake Radonis, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Jake Radonis, JakeRadonis.
That's how you spell that man's name. Let's see, what else? Yeah, rate, review, subscribe. Check out the Patreon, patreon.com/HockeyNightNY. And again, join us on Thursday if you can't make it to UBS Arena. That's right, Borelli's Tap Room in Long Beach. Islanders versus Rangers. Bring your Ranger fan friends as long as they're friendly and nice people. Once again, raffles, prizes, pregame show with Tony Stabile, a phone call from this guy, Stefen Rosner. Going to have a lot of fun, and as a result of that, there will not be a show this coming Sunday, but we'll be back the following week no matter what the New York Islanders do. So for Stefen Rosner, for Jake the Snake Radonis, for Edzo and Jay behind the glass, I've been Sean Cuthbert. We've been Hockey Night in New York. We will see you Thursday at Borelli's.